Hey guys, another week, another game dev vlog, and this week I have been working on a few different things. So to begin with, on Everybody at Its Universe, I worked on systems to be able to send messages from the server for things like notifications. It tells you in the chat, like the system messages and Everybody Edits. I've also made a command where you can toggle the FPS and ping display, which is now in the upper left corner, and I've also added a coin counter up in the upper right corner, and it acts like you would expect from Everybody Edits as well. So aside from that, I've also implemented the metal blocks from Alex. So last week I showed the three that were pretty much final. Well, they've had some tweaks done, and the other three are now finished, and overall looking pretty good. Basically, it's meant to be a gold, silver, bronze like the original, but we also now have a copper, steel, and iron color. And overall, I think they look pretty good, nice and shiny, and they have a lot of the elements from the original without looking too much like Mario graphics, and they fit the new style of Everybody at Its Universe, which is generally a little more glossy, shiny, smooth, simple, but not too simple. Now, on Everybody Edits, obviously it's still kind of in a little bit of a weird situation. It's still playable on Congregate, but because it is still playable, a lot of the worlds that were compromised were accessible. Should have been left up? I don't know. But really, all we can do is act from where we're at now, and I believe all of those worlds have been cleaned up. If there are any lingering ones, it's not very many. Luke was running a program to figure out which worlds were modified, and then rolled them back to a previous backup. So at least that side of things is mostly resolved. Now, as far as getting the game back up on the main site, we do have some plans as to how we can do that. We don't know for certain if it's going to work out, but we do have some ideas as to how we can do this, and we do believe we can get the game back up and have it safe enough to be able to play again. So anyway, aside from the stuff on Everybody Edits and Everybody Edits Universe, I've also done some work on my own projects, especially my new game based on See No More, which was that game jam entry I did recently. I still don't have a name for the game, but I've been using the working name CyberHack because that's what I called the game when I was younger, when I had the idea for the basic puzzle mechanic. But anyway, in this game, I now have all of the gameplay, so you can now press the play button and the signal goes through the different nodes, like the portals, switches, doors, all that. So everything's working. I can cancel play by either moving stuff out of the tiles or by clicking the play button again. And basically what's next is to just make actual levels, make puzzles, and make the progression of levels, a level select menu, the main menu, add sounds, music, and a lot of interesting effects to make everything look nice and feel really polished. And I've got a game. So the goal is to try to get the game done as soon as possible. If I can release it later this month, that would be preferred. I don't know if that will happen, considering we need to work on getting the closed beta of Everybody at Its Universe out as well. We'll see. So, yeah. I mean, aside from that, I also experimented a little bit with some world generation stuff. Think like Minecraft, how it uses a chunk-based system and procedural world generation. Anyway, the reason why I was doing this is kind of complicated. There's a kind of distant future game idea that I have that revolves around some of this stuff, and one of the things that I was kind of confused by when I was first thinking about this game idea a few years ago was how to generate structures that are partially outside of the current chunk that it's generating, such as something as simple as a tree. Well, if you just need some leaves in this chunk, how does it know to generate those? Well, it's actually fairly simple. As long as you have a good random number generator that allows you to input a few values and get a reliable number, all you need to do is just loop through the blocks just outside of that chunk, check if one would have the base of a tree, and if so, generate the blocks for that tree that overlap into this chunk, and there you go. Overall, not too difficult. The main complicated part was just figuring out an efficient way to do that, and then I also threw in some Perlin noise, or simplex noise rather, for some terrain generation, which is stuff I've done before, and then also did a slightly more complex version of that tree generation for generating some random structures. Basically what you're doing is a similar thing, but with chunks instead. So you check a certain number of chunks outside of the one that you're generating, check if that one should contain the structure, just like we check how blocks should contain trees, and then generate where it should be within that chunk. And then any blocks that happen to overlap into this chunk that we're actually generating, you draw those, and good to go. There's still a lot of stuff that I want to figure out with it, and it is very interesting doing these kinds of experiments every once in a while, because it gives me a chance to learn some stuff a little differently than the main projects that I'm working on, so it gives me a different perspective on some issues. Like, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing in Everybody It's Universe really comes from experimentation in the past, so it is important to have some time to be able to experiment with stuff like this, but I do need to work on how I prioritize my projects and allot time for these things. But anyway, I guess that is going to have to be it for today. So as always, I'm going to thank my contributors over on Patreon. It really is a massive help. If you want to check it out for yourself, the link is down in the description below. And of course, I want to thank the Everybody Edits patrons as well. So yeah, I'll see you around. Goodbye.